and take a vagabond dream.
Hi, this is Lisa and I'm Mark and we're the Vagabond Dreamers. We're not at some exotic site.
Not at all.
Not at all. We're back in the U.S. In an apartment that we just moved into, but it's a rainy day and this is the best way we can get this video wrapped up. So we're going to talk today about our trip to Slovenia and Hungary, the last sort of trip in the Balkans area. What'd you think?
I think that I wish I were back there. Slovenia was my #1 top pick of all the countries we've been to, and it was hard because we went to so many amazing countries, but Slovenia had it all for me. It had the hikes, it had the Adriatic, it had the valleys, it had the adventure, it had the food, and it was fairly affordable. That's what I think.
Can't argue with any of that. We got to see a lot of things in Slovenia. We started out in a town called Bovec.
Yeah, Bovec, and the place where we landed was right in the hub of all the adventure activities. We felt like a couple of the older people in this area because there were rafters and kayakers and hikers, and if it could be done, people were there doing it, and it was just a really wonderful little place to land. We did hikes and canyoning and gorges and all the things.
You went on a big hike on your own on this one.
I did. So I'm training for the Grand Canyon, which is Saturday. And one of the training plans was I had to hit 18 miles. And so I found the perfect hike right in the Soča Valley. It's called the Soča Valley Hike. It was an 18-mile hike from one point to pretty much where our place was. Not a lot of elevation, but a whole lot of miles. Mark dropped me off at the beginning of the trail, and it was just absolutely gorgeous. You just always had peaks of the Soča River, which is the most crystal blue river I've ever seen in my life. I really felt like somebody had to put some kind of a dye in it. It was just really unreal and beautiful. It was only taxing really because my feet just blistered up. But it was worth every single blister, every single mile. I just would do it all over again.
Yeah, I think that this area is certainly among the most beautiful that we saw on our entire trip. And we saw some beautiful stuff. I did go on a walk, not a hike, back to the area that we visited months earlier when we were heading to Vienna, and this canyon that we crawled up on the rocks and looked over. We did it back then and we did it again. We didn't realize how much more of it that there really was.
So much more.
You know, the geology is just really indescribable, but you're seeing pictures and video of it behind us. Just spectacular. It's the kind of thing I know I could sit there for hours and just read or just look at it. It was just really great.
You wouldn't get tired of it.
Wouldn't get tired. But little canyons and just sitting there is not what Lisa does. So we did something we've never done before.
Well, we had two choices. We could go paraglide, which Mark absolutely said no to, but it is still on my list at least. Or we could go canyoning, which I've never done. I've done pieces, parts, and Mark's never done. And man, oh man, I think he would do it again. But I know I would do it again and again and again. It was through an adventure group, fully wetsuited. So they take you to this waterfall area and you have to hike with all of your gear to, they say it's a walk, a 20-minute walk. It absolutely was not a walk.
Brutal.
It counted as, I said brutal, but it definitely was a little more taxing than what they wrote up, but you have to hike to the top so that you can make your way all the way down through the canyon. And basically it's full of cliff jumps. So you jump into the canyon, the waterfall pools, and you slide down the waterfall rocks and you rappel from one area to the next. And it was 3 hours of just absolute bliss. Loved it, loved it.
It was a real challenge. It was not anything I had expected. Pretty sure I'm not going to do it again. I'm pretty sure if my spine surgeon knew I did this, he would no longer be my spine surgeon. But it was, I'm really glad I did it. It was taxing, but it was thrilling.
And you looked so great in your wetsuit.
I did. I sporting a wetsuit. No, and it was thrilling in many ways. We really enjoyed that. We did another hike, and we met our friends John Franchi and his wife and 2 sons at the gorge in Tolmin, right?
Yeah, so Tolmin Gorge, and a koritz is the name for a gorge, and this is called just generally the Tolmin Gorge. And it's about it's a loop trail, and it's filled with just river views and bridges and hikes and stairs, and it's family friendly. You can go as fast or slow as you want, but it was just absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, we had a great time catching up with John and his family.
Cute kids.
Yeah, very much so. So a lot of that, but not everything in Slovenia and this part of Slovenia was fun and games, because this was a site which I learned there, and it's sort of embarrassing, that one of the biggest and most deadly battles of World War I was fought in the valley.
Right where we were.
Right where we were.
Yeah.
There are still ordnances there. There are still stockpiles of weapons and things laying around. People are still finding things in the rivers. But hundreds of thousands of people died there over a course of a couple of years of a battle. Our host, Vito, is a writer. He and I shared a lot of thoughts and ideas about what had happened there and what was happening in the Balkans in general. He was a great guy, a lot of great conversations. But knowing and learning about this war made me want to go find some things. And so we got up to the top of this mountain and found this elaborate trench system, which we showed some trenches back in Trieste. Those were nothing compared to this. And I actually got in and climbed down in the trenches, very well preserved. Really chilling in so many ways. All right, so this might be a little tricky, but I'm going to try it because it looks like this goes underground over here. Let's see. So I'm down underground. I don't know how much. I guess the light up ahead will help. This is freaking amazing. Oh, there was an easier way in. Imagine that. That was really sweet. Look at that. That's awesome. So when Lisa took off on her hike, I went to the museums in town, and there again, man's inhumanity to man is on full display. It's depressing in every possible way. Did climb up to a memorial that Mussolini had built to the heroes of this war. It's still there. Found names of a couple of my relatives that were on the walls, because half of my family was from this part of Slovenia. But again, this whole trip has been a mix of the history and the wonderful, and I learned a lot about what had happened there, and it's never makes me smile.
There were a lot of tears in the Balkans for us, and a lot of things that we've learned.
Yep. So on a much happier note, we headed over to Lake Bled. This is one of these iconic places that you have to see, right?
It's a must stop.
It's a must stop. And it turns out that we didn't have to stop. It is beautiful.
Yep, very much so.
The lake is gorgeous, but it's packed with people. The traffic is not fun. A lot of just tourist kind of shops and things, not what we're really used to doing. We did hike around the lake.
We walked around the lake. Way longer than we'd anticipated.
But it was very cool.
Yeah.
It was beautiful for sure. But we could have done without it, I think.
Yeah, I'm glad we went,
Yeah.
but it wasn't a must.
Wasn't a must. Wouldn't do it again. We left Lake Bled and headed over to Goranj Avas, stayed at this farmhouse with this great couple. Didn't have a ton of English, which was really fun.
Zero English.
Which was fun and challenging. We didn't have any Slovenian either. And you went on one of your really big hikes there.
I did. So I found a Blegos peak, which was probably 15 minutes outside of where we were staying. This little area is just full of hills and valleys and farmlands and churches, and it's just so quaint. Didn't feel like I was in Slovenia. I actually felt like I was in Austria again, which makes sense because we're right there.
They're close. Yep.
So the Blegos peak was a 7-mile, 3.5-hour hike, and took me up to about 3,500 feet, which was cool. And I really wasn't prepared for what to see at the top, but I knew at one point I was like, okay, that's a really big climb on a very empty hill, super windy. And when I got to the top, oh my goodness, it was a 360 view of the entire area. They had some plaques up there that told you what peaks you're looking at. It was super fascinating. I also saw that there was a hut about a half a mile away that you could drive to. Because there were more people up at the very top than I expected. When I was hiking up the top, I was the only one that I could see for anywhere. And I got to the top and there was probably 15 people and some little kids. I'm like, what? Like this, I was sweating. But there's the hut, and it was a really big hut, really big parking lot. So cool, because then it makes it accessible for other people to see at the very top of this. But yeah, it was a fabulous hike with no issues.
It's a great area.
Yeah, beautiful area.
We moved on from there to go to the east side of Slovenia, and as we're driving along, we kept seeing these signs for this town, which seems impronounceable. It's Ptuj.
Ptuj.
And it's the oldest town in Slovenia, and I had to stop.
Absolutely.
And pulled off. What a great find that was.
Yeah, absolutely.
The narrow streets.
Oh, and the lunch. The lunch in Ptuj was spectacular. We kind of broke up a bachelor party. Holy cow. One lunch fed us for 2 days.
Right. You had me there for a second, but yeah, I remember now with the bachelor party. And just they kept bringing us food and courses, and it was
pots of soup, and it was
really
so
great.
good.
Really great. Not expensive. Really fun. There's a castle there, which we didn't tour. But they also have an annual poetry festival there, and we just missed it.
Yeah.
But they cover the walls with all the entries of the poetry. Really sweet place. And we really were on our way to Maribor, and we just had pulled off to do Ptuj. Maribor was one of my most special finds on this whole
Did
trip.
we look up real estate in Maribor?
We
Yes,
did.
we did.
Yes,
it's
we did.
affordable.
Sits on the river. It's really gorgeous, old town. And there's a lot of really cool stuff there, right? What did we find? The oldest
grapevine in the world.
So they say.
So they say. I'm going to believe it. I'm going with it. We stopped there and actually did some wine tasting, and our presenter was just wonderful, super knowledgeable, great wines. I think we bought some.
We did. And he introduced us to orange wine.
Orange, yes.
Yeah, never even heard of it.
No,
It was really good. It was really cool. Really special place. And then we're walking around, and we got one of the only times on the entire trip.
The only time that we had a rainstorm during the day.
Right.
It rained 3 other times on our entire trip, but most of it was at night, so we could listen to it. We never really got caught in it, but
we got caught in this one.
It was fun.
It was fun. I mean, it was raining so hard that the tarps that were covering like restaurants, I had to actually get up and push the water off because I thought the whole thing was going to collapse on us. And then once the rain was done, just a great walk through this just beautiful city, and the river running through it, and it was just they really understand how to do rivers and river banks and stuff in Europe, and we're learning, I think, in this country, but it was super great. So we left Maribor and headed into Hungary to visit Budapest. Now this was one that we struggled with. Lisa really didn't want to go because Hungary is hungry. But I needed to see Budapest, the history and the beauty of it. We didn't go to Serbia for political reasons, and we almost didn't go here, and I think we would regret it at this point.
Absolutely.
It is a town that sits on the Danube River, Buda on one side, Pest on the other, and that is just a spectacular venue for all the activity of this really enormous city. We Did not run into any of the political issues. No one gave us, and I guess a lot of it's because they can't really talk about it.
Right, and we didn't bring it up.
And we didn't bring it up. But we did enjoy walking through the city.
We walked everywhere.
We put on
Miles.
a lot of miles on this trip. Up and down the river on both sides. Got to see all kinds of historical buildings and the parliament. Just fantastic things.
And the bridges, so many bridges, and they were just beautifully built bridges.
Yeah, they were great. We stumbled upon the Holocaust Memorial, and just like everything else that we've done on this trip, the emotions of these memorials can be overwhelming. This was a spot on the Danube where the Germans lined up a bunch of Jews, shot them, and dumped their bodies in the river. And the memorial is the people had placed the shoes of all these people and put them, permanently affixed them there.
As with most things that we experience, reading about it, knowing about things, which we, of course, knew about this, is so different when you experience it in person. It's just so much more emotional.
Yeah, it was tough, and people were there, and people were crying and taking lots of pictures. It was important to have done. It really, really was. We happened to be there on the weekend of their big national holiday when they converted to Catholicism way back. And how about them fireworks?
Holy cow, I've seen the fireworks on the Potomac and I thought they were amazing, which they were. But celebrating the national holiday of St. Stephen's Day on the Danube, it's indescribable. And of course, when you take firework pictures, you're like, they never turn out as well. But these, I don't even think these did. But these
turned out pretty good.
They turned out pretty well, but it was right outside of our hotel room. And it was a series of drones and pyrotechnic. It was a storytelling event with music and just all timed, and 30 minutes of just like, oh my gosh, it was incredible. What a gift to have been there on that particular day.
Yeah, and it was.
I love the bridge. The bridge is great.
Yeah, I got it. This is a drone show. Up our visit. We headed back to the airport and flew to Portugal from there. So real quickly, the Balkans, didn't really know what to expect, but I was just so impressed.
Blown away by the Balkans. That should be its own video title.
Yeah. I mean, the people everywhere we went.
And the food.
The food was amazing. Probably the best food I think.
Yeah, it was the best food we've had, and the landscape. I mean, it was mountains and
we
water.
Drove 2,400 miles.
We did.
In a rental car. Not a scratch on that baby.
No.
The Balkans are definitely worth your consideration or future consideration for travel.
Yeah.
Because they really are really spectacular.
And it's affordable. Most of the Balkans that aren't part of the EU are certainly super inexpensive.
Yeah.
But it's just worth it regardless.
Okay, well, we've been doing this on all this trip, and this is a pretty lame walk away.
It is.
But we're going to do it anyway because we want to stay consistent. So this is Lisa and Mark, and we're the Vagabond
We're walking
Dreamers.
away to our couch.
To our couch. Let's go to our couch. There we go.
And take a vagabond dream of a vagabond fool. I ain't too proud to beg, but I'm playing it cool.